Most security cameras force you to compromise somewhere. You either mount one wide enough to capture everything, but then lose detail when you actually need it. Or you tighten the view to get clearer footage and suddenly half your property disappears into a blind spot. After using battery cameras around my house for years, I realized properly covering one area usually means installing multiple cameras and eventually charging all of them one by one. So when Aosu reached out with the new SolarCam T2 Pro, I thought the idea behind how it solves all these problems was actually pretty smart. Instead of using multiple separate cameras, Aosu has combined two different camera systems into one unit, then paired it with a detachable solar setup to reduce charging. Once I started testing this camera around the house, especially around blind spots and at night time, it quickly became one of the more interesting cameras that I've tested in a while. The first thing I wanted to figure out was where this thing actually made sense to install. I ended up mounting mine just outside the alfresco area at the back of the house, because from this single position, it can monitor the backyard, the alfresco behind, and the side path running alongside the house. The best way to get the most out of this is mounting it in a corner location with multiple viewing angles. Once the PTZ camera starts moving, it's effectively monitoring multiple directions without needing separate cameras everywhere. In my specific setup, this genuinely replaces what I would have done with 2 or 3 separate static cameras. It saves me money, installation, clutter, and the constant charging. Inside the box, you get the camera unit, the solar panel with a USB-C extension cable, a mounting bracket with a heavy-duty swing arm that lets you fully adjust how you position the camera, and all your screws and plugs. The fact that the solar panel is completely separate from the camera body is another huge practical advantage of this design. You can put the camera protected under the shade and extend the panel to wherever the sun actually hits. That's not something you can do with integrated solar cameras. This is actually a really important factor for solar cameras because you need consistent and direct sunlight hitting the solar surface for it to actually work properly. Installation itself is pretty simple and took me about 15 minutes. I mounted the bracket onto the brick using a 6mm drill bit, then inserting the plugs, then screwing it into place, and then finally clicking the camera into position. I then ran the solar cable above the gutter for direct sunlight, then linked everything through the app. The camera is weatherproof, so you don't have to worry about installing it in a shaded location. Aosu also provide a solar mount for those who want to mount the solar directly on top of the camera itself. One tip I'd like to pass on for the PTZ cameras is that it works a lot better when people move across its frame rather than towards it. So if you can position it so that people walk sideways through its view, such as along a pathway or a driveway, the tracking is going to feel a lot smoother. When you open the app, you see 2 feeds side by side. The top one is a super wide 3K camera that captures 170-degree field of view, which is on the upper tier compared to all your big brands including Ring. Underneath, it's complemented with a motorized 3K PTZ camera which physically rotates and tracks whatever motion moves through the frame. In normal mode, the PTZ sits pointed in whatever direction you've set it as default. For me, that's covering the alfresco, an area which the camera can't physically see from its fixed position. So even before motion gets detected, you've already got 2 different covered locations from one mount point. While the wide camera monitors the backyard, I can leave the PTZ permanently pointed towards the alfresco or the side access. Then when the wide camera detects motion, let's say someone walks into the backyard, it triggers the PTZ to physically turn on, zoom in, and lock into that person, and follow them as they move. What makes the PTZ unique is that the wider overview never disappears while the PTZ moves around, which is usually the problem with traditional PTZ cameras. Once they rotate away, you lose visibility somewhere else. Once tracking finishes, the PTZ automatically returns back to its original position as well, so it's ready to monitor the alfresco area again instead of staying pointed in the wrong direction. I also wanted to test this camera in different scenarios and situations, so I moved it to the front of my house where I usually test all of my other cameras. Let's see how it holds up in real-world situations where it's detecting different things like vehicles, people, and pets. You can see for slower moving subjects like people, the cameras do an excellent job at detecting and tracking people moving through the frame. Thanks to the PTZ 8x zoom, I could still clearly make out clothing detail and faces without the image completely falling apart. I walked to the end of the driveway about 15 meters away and zoomed in. You can clearly read detail at a distance. Faces, clothing, vehicle plates, usable footage, not just a pixelated blur. With really fast moving subjects like a car, you can see the wide view camera detecting the vehicle first, while the PTZ camera redirects to separately follow, but it's not perfect, especially when the car's really fast. Despite this, overall it was detecting people and vehicles a lot better than I expected. And again, because you've got that wide view at the top, which is more than you get from bigger brands, you're also not really losing any footage when the PTZ camera moves around. The first night I tested this, I wanted to replicate how this camera would behave if an intruder was sneaking around at the back around midnight. Seeing the PTZ physically turn on and follow someone across the yard genuinely felt different from a normal camera setup. Catching the movement of the PTZ itself is frightening enough to alarm someone looking at your place. The T2 Pro has 3 modes at night. Infrared is probably the mode most people will end up using most of the time because it gives you the best range while using less battery. Second is color night vision with the spotlight active. The spotlight illuminates the subject in actual color, which means you're getting real identification detail. There's 3 bright spotlights across the 2 cameras. Closer range performs better, as with any spotlight camera. Past about 8 to 10 meters, the color starts to drop off and you're relying more on the infrared fill. On an honest note, the spotlight is good when subjects are further away, but it's not exceptional. If your in-store location gets ambient lighting, especially if it's just coming from a house, that's going to help the color performance dramatically. And also it's going to save you power as well. But speaking of battery, it actually has an exceptionally large capacity at 9,200 mAh. To put that in context, the Reolink Argus PT, which is probably its closest competitor, runs a 6,000 mAh battery. Because of the motor at the bottom, these PTZ cameras chew through battery much faster than normal cameras. From what I've observed so far, the solar panel is actually offsetting the usage really well at my install location. I get about 5 to 6 hours of direct sunlight a day, and it's winter here right now in Australia. This is actually pretty good with the number of detections I'm getting, tracking events, and also nighttime usage. Based on what I'm seeing so far, the solar generation is completely offsetting the battery usage, which really creates a low maintenance set and forget setup. For reference, I still tested this without solar on maximum settings and found battery drain at about 5% per day with 120 average daily detections. Incorporating the solar and the dual camera setup is a game changer. There's no extra cost and it reduces maintenance in multiple ways at once. Fewer cameras to buy, fewer to install, less to charge, and still no subscription. Leaving behind all the tracking and automation is the Aosu app. The main dashboard shows a snapshot of the last captured footage. Clicking into this pulls up the live feed. You can move the PTZ camera around using the scroll wheel feature. This is actually really useful to find where packages are left in front of your door and enables a full view as if you were standing there and turning your head yourself. Other cool features you get access to in live view worth mentioning: manual recordings, screenshots, activating spotlights, alarms, and two-way audio. The camera comes with built-in storage using an SD card, so recordings can be stored directly into the camera instead of relying entirely on cloud subscriptions. Now, I know a lot of you guys will appreciate this because the subscription fatigue is real. The only downside is that if someone steals your camera, well then all of your footage is gone. So just make sure you install it at least 2 meters high. Some other settings that are worth noticing include detection settings and motion sensitivity. I tested filtering out for vehicles and random objects and it works great. Or linking to Alexa or Google Home, so you can pull the live feed onto compatible smart home displays and also trigger motion announcements. The app is overall solid. Now Ring and Eufy are going to feel a bit more refined and offer a couple more features, but over here, the functionality works well and everything feels super simple to use. Now, while I've been pretty impressed overall, there are still a couple of things worth mentioning. The first is that because the PTZ camera physically moves around, there are occasional movements where fast movements can take a second for the system to fully reposition and frame properly. Static cameras naturally don't have that repositioning delay. Luckily though, it has that second wide angle camera that stays locked in. The second thing is size. This isn't a tiny subtle camera once mounted, because it's effectively combining two camera systems into the one housing. It's definitely more noticeable visually than smaller minimalist battery cameras. Personally, I don't mind that because a point of security cameras is actually being seen. It also adds another layer of psychological security because you feel like Big Brother's watching. It's a bit mean and it scares people, but personally, I like that. Overall though, I think Aosu has done something genuinely smart here. For me, the biggest benefit isn't really the tracking itself, it's simplifying the entire setup and the incredible value. 2 to 3 cameras in one, fewer blind spots, no charging, no monthly fees, and less maintenance overall. If you want to pick up the T2 Pro and join the other 3 million people already using it, then I've got a discount code for you available on the Aosu store, link in the description below. You can also find these cameras from the Amazon store. Now, what do you think about these newer style tracking cameras? Are they essential for smart home security or just another gimmick? If you like real world smart home reviews, feel free to subscribe. I've got a lot more coming and I'll see you in the next one.